Hi traders, this is Cynthia of Day Trade Forex, and I'm bringing you an introductory video to show you the Pro Currency Strength Meter template and also the basic Currency Strength Meter template. And I'm going to start with the Pro template because it has all the extra features that come with it. And the currency strength meter is included in both the basic and the pro, so that's the one thing in common that you do get with both templates. But the pro template has my new trade button EA, which is a one-click trade placement and also a trade management expert advisor that has all the set files for all the different currency strategies, including quick scalp, day trade, swing trade. Plus it includes the preset files for my favorite CFDs or indexes. And if anybody likes to trade the DAX or the Dow, then the CFD set files are inside the trade button, and all of the settings are default for scalping, which is just a place to start. And once you understand the inputs, then you can increase the values for day trading or swing trading so that the trade button manages the trade in the way that you'd like it to. Also in the Pro template we get a Forex Factory calendar, and today is Wednesday, May 29th, and my local time is Central Standard Time, so the Forex Factory calendar pulls in information according to my local time. So it's 8:30 a.m. my time, so in 30 minutes there's going to be two red CAD events. And so I'm watching this currency strength meter today to see what the CAD is doing and what the US dollar is doing. So right now, 30 minutes before this major news event, the CAD is a weak yellow at 4.3, and the US dollar is much stronger at an orange 6.0. So we buy the strength and sell the weakness. So the US dollar is strong, so we're buying the US dollar. The CAD is weak, yellow is weak, orange is strong. So as the pair, we're buying the US dollar and selling the CAD at the same time. So that means the pair US dollar CAD is going up. And you can see this is a 1 hour chart. You can see that the candle for right now shows that the USD CAD 1 hour candle is going up. And in the bottom window is my multi-time frame indicator, and it shows you that on a 5-minute time frame it is going up, but in a 1-minute time frame it's going down, 15-minute time frame it's going up, but in all these other time frames the trend is actually down, and that's based on the candle previously. So in an M30 H1 and H4 chart, the trend is actually down. So now the CAD has strengthened a little bit and it's orange just like the US dollar. So that just tells me there's no momentum at all to either the upside or downside, because they're both relatively the same strength, although the CAD is on the weaker side. So the US dollar CAD possibly will continue to go up based on the currency strength and weaknesses. And in 30 minutes, when the red news event happens, then we'll see if the USD CAD continues to push to the upside. The US dollar has to remain stronger and the CAD has to remain weaker. However, if the CAD continues to strengthen, then this pair probably won't move too much. But I think it's going to move a lot, because if you look at the news event, it's BOC rate statement, so that's the Bank of Canada. They're going to be announcing their new interest rate, and that usually moves the market considerably. Right now the USD is stronger than the CAD, so the pair is going up. That is the overall sentiment, and it's more than likely that this will continue. However, you can see that the price all during this time is in a red zone, and that is a Fibonacci overbought zone. That's one of the other indicators that you get in the Pro template. This is the blue Fibonacci oversold zone, so it hasn't been here for quite a long time. If I scroll back, it's been a long time since it's been in the oversold zone, and right now it's in the overbought zone. So you can see at a glance, and this is going to be a little bit different in every time frame, but in a 1 hour time frame it's definitely overbought, but it's approaching another Fibonacci resistance of resistance 2 here, and you can't see it very well, but this is resistance 3. So in this Pro template you get an additional Fibonacci indicator that shows you a blue pivot level. This is like a line or a price that is a daily price, and price usually does come back to this and hovers around it like it did here when it was in a very tight range. Now, because of this BOC rate statement, in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in the last 8 hours, price has been bullish to the upside, even though price is overbought. But with the Fibonacci support and resistance lines, it did hit resistance 2 and then pulled back, but now it's going back up based on the currency strength and weakness for this pair. So it's very possible that with the rate announcement that comes out now in 20 minutes, that price will hit resistance 2 and could push all the way up to resistance 3. So in the Pro template you have actually 3 Fibonacci support and resistance and targets. So we have the original one that's in the basic, and I'll show you the basic template in a minute. But you have the Fibonacci indicator that gives you resistance 1, 2, and 3 and support 1, 2, and 3, which are actually great targets. And anytime the price bounces up or down off the pivot line makes for a pretty good entry. And then you would set your target accordingly to either one of the resistance lines or one of the support lines, depending on if you're scalping, day trading, or swing trading. I think that's it for the extra Pro features, which again, to recap, includes the trade button EA, which makes buying or selling or closing your trades one click, and then the trade manager inside manages your trade according to the preset file that you've chosen. Also, we have pending trades, so you can place a pending buy or a pending sell. And then we get the Forex Factory calendar, and we get the Fibonacci heat map indicator, which shows you the red overbought zones and the blue oversold zones, and then the additional Fibonacci indicator that give you support and resistance lines. Now the hot dot just appeared, and we got a pop-up alert, so it says the signal hot dots in the USD CAD look for a buy entry or a sell exit. So if I were in a sell trade, I would definitely exit this sell trade, but it tells me right now to look for a buy entry. And we do have the pop-up arrow, and then the hot dot popped up. It's behind the arrow, but this gives you all of the pop-up alerts that you get. You actually get 3 pop-up alerts for the Pro template. So it draws your attention in case you're busy doing something different. It draws your attention, and you can come and look. First, look at the currency strength meter to see what the strength and weakness of the currencies are, and then you can go look at the chart. So we see that the USD CAD is really strengthening, mainly because the CAD is really weakening. So the CAD is very weak and the US dollar is very strong, so the pair continues to go up. So those are the features of the Pro Currency Strength Meter, which gives you a whole lot more information, and I think the most valuable part of it is the trade button EA, which makes placing your trade just a one click. It'll place your trade on your chart and with your broker, and it's always at a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 2. So that means your take profit levels that it places on your chart will always be double of what your risk is. So it gives you a very favorable risk to reward ratio. So I think the trade button is the most important part of the Pro template. Now let's look at the basic template so you can see the difference. We're looking at the USD CAD now in a 15-minute chart. This was an earlier buy entry, and this is a buy entry again now after this pullback. And I always enter and exit when this RSI line crosses the 50% line. So on this previous candle when I was talking 15 minutes ago was the buy entry, and you had the green arrow alert, and behind it is the hot dot alert for buying at this point. Once the RSI crosses the 50% line and all the colors agree, then you would go ahead and buy. So this is the basic template. It gives you only a standard Fibonacci extension, but it doesn't give you any of the other two Fibonacci indicators that come in the Pro template. It also does not have the trade button EA, so there's no one-click trade placement or trade management. And it doesn't give you the Forex Factory calendar headline, and it doesn't give you the Fibonacci overbought or oversold zones. So if I were to apply the Pro template on a 15-minute chart, this is what it would look like. And now we're in a Pro template on a 15-minute chart for the USD CAD. We can see according to the currency strength meter, the US dollar is very strong and the CAD is still very weak. So this candle, the current candle we're on, reflects the buying pressure. Here's resistance 2 that we identified, so it's already hit resistance 2, and we're still 15 minutes out from the news event, so you can't see it very well, but this is resistance 3 up here, and that would be my target, because I think that with that kind of news event, that's another 26 pips. So if you had entered when you got the arrow and the hot dot alert, right now you would be up 15 pips, and if your target was resistance 3, that would be 40 pips. So you can see that the additional Fibonacci indicators are very valuable for measuring what your next target would be, and you could choose the preset file inside of the trade button to determine that. So you could choose a quick scalp, or day trade for trading the news events, and the day trade will have your stop and take profit at a wider range because the higher time frame gives you a wider range for the stop and take profit. So if you don't want to get stopped out very quickly on a news event, you could choose a day trade set file, and then that gives you more profit potential. All of this is explained in the video training inside of the PDF. Now, earlier the pound was very, very strong and the yen was weaker while I was talking. So that means that they were buying the pound and selling the yen. So the pound yen was going up. Now we're in a 30-minute chart, so you can't really see it because the currency strength meter is reflecting immediate current strengths and weaknesses, which you can't really see that if you go into the higher time frames. But if you jump down to a 15-minute time frame, then you can see that on this current 15-minute candle, the price is starting to go back up a little bit, although it's a tiny little doji, and the candle on a 15-minute chart is reflecting better what the currency strength meter is telling you, because you can't see on a 30-minute or 1 hour or 4-hour candle, you can't see really what the immediate strength or weakness is. You have to jump down to at least a 15-minute chart. And now this candle is a doji red. That means the pound is either weakening or the yen is strengthening, one or the other. But there's not a lot of difference now between a yellow 5.0 and an orange 6.7. There's a little bit of a difference. The pound is definitely stronger, so the trend is still up. And if we switch to a 5-minute chart, then you can see that the RSI is very oversold on a 5-minute chart, and in this multi-time frame window the trend up is weak. So that's because there's not a lot of difference between the pound and the yen at this point. Back here, when you saw the big run-up, the pound was extremely strong compared to a very weak yen. But now the values are almost the same. They're both orange, so the price is stalled out. You can see in the last two candles, these are the last 10 minutes, that the price really is stalling out. So that shows you how you can use the currency strength meter to your advantage. You always want to pair a very strong currency with a very weak currency, and if the value or the color is close or similar, then there's no momentum. So it's important to learn how to use the currency strength meter. And of course, in the PDF videos, I give you lots of training to understand how to use the currency strength meter. It won't take you very long. Just at a glance, you'll be able to interpret what's going on. So now we're 10 minutes away from the CAD bank rate statement, and I'll pause the video so we can see what happens. That way you can see that right now the US dollar is strong and the CAD is half as strong, and that is a very good ratio. So that means the US dollar CAD as a pair will continue to go up. However, anything can change when this bank statement comes out. But you can see that the sentiment for the last hour has been that the pair will continue to go up, and it's impossible to interpret what that means as far as the rate statement. It could be good for the CAD, bad for the CAD, but probably it means that they're just not going to be changing the rate. They're not going to be raising the interest rate, and they're not going to be lowering the interest rate. And whether that's good or bad for the CAD, there's no way of knowing, but it does mean that the US dollar is going up because it's stronger than the CAD, so the CAD is weak. We are in overbought territory, but I still believe my target will be resistance 3, which is hard to see. If you can read it, it's green. I'm going to pause the video and come back in 10 minutes, and we'll see what the rate statement news event does to the USD CAD. So I'll be back. We're now 4 minutes away from top of the hour, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, when the Bank of Canada will be announcing the interest rate. And we can see the US dollar continues to be strong, but the CAD is strengthening slightly. And so we have a paused sort of doji-like candle right here. The indecision is very evident. Traders don't know if they should continue to stay long or if they should short. But the very valuable thing about the Forex Factory calendar headline here is that 30 minutes before a news event, it gives you a pop-up alert. I forgot to mention that. But what if you didn't have this on your chart, and what if you're not in the habit of going to the Forex Factory calendar to look every day to see when the red news events are? What if you were actually short this trade and it goes against you because of the red news alert, which you didn't even know about? And maybe you're just trading against the currency strength and weakness. And so that's why I think this Forex Factory calendar indicator is so important, because there's been many times when I was on the wrong side of the trade, and if I had been paying attention to the calendar here and watching the currency strength meter, I wouldn't have been in a trade going in a certain direction. And sometimes you just get caught going in the wrong direction because of a red news event, and either you're not paying attention to the indicator on your chart, or you're not going to the Forex Factory calendar to look for a red news event. Either way, you're trading with lack of information and lack of awareness. If you're going to be a successful Forex trader, you need to have increased information, increased awareness, And that's what gives you the edge, knowing when the red news events are going to happen. And it needs to be in front of you all the time, because if you're not paying attention, these red news events can sneak up on you and turn your trade around completely. So it's very important to be aware of red news events, and this just keeps it right in front of your face with the pop-up alert 30 minutes before a red news event. If you're in front of your PC to see that alert, I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring over here my pop-up alert. Back here at 8:29, so it's almost 30 minutes ago, I got the first alert, and 1 second later it gave me another alert. Well, it gives it to you 2 times. That's just a programming thing. And then you have all of your buy alerts for buying the CAD, the USD CAD. So I'm going to pull that away because we're 1 minute away from the news event itself. If we look at the USD CAD, the US dollar is still very strong, CAD is still very weak. And so I would imagine that when another minute passes, that you'll see this red candle turn green and probably shoot right up. So that's if the CAD stays weak. Now it could be a good, whatever people would interpret whatever the news event is being good for the CAD, then you'll see the CAD strengthen very strongly, and that would mean that the pair is going down. Okay, here we go. We have the news event. It is now 9 a.m. and look at how the CAD is strengthening. It's really strengthening, so the pair is pushing down. And however, there could be some fluctuation, so we just have to write it out. It's often very smart to just, if you're already in a buy or sell trade for a red news before a red news event, it's often smart just to get out of your trade. Right now they're exactly the same. Well, they were a second ago, so that means a lot of indecision, but there's not much difference in the values between the CAD and the US dollar at this point. So that means whatever the rate decision was is kind of a wash. It's not really affecting. Well, now the CAD is getting very weak again. So now it's starting to shoot up. So it takes a minute. It's 1 minute after 9, so it takes a minute for the market to digest the information and translate it, interpret it to whether it's good or bad for the CAD, and that's what they're doing. And now the CAD is getting very weak again, and the US dollar is strengthening. So it's continuing to go up, and we'll see if it hits resistance 3, and that could take a few minutes, I don't know. Now look at how weak the CAD is. We have a blue, and this is about as weak as any currency can get if it's blue. 0.9 is extremely weak. US dollar is extremely strong at red. So now we have an extremely strong US dollar and an extremely weak CAD, and we're shooting up. It looks like the wick touched resistance 3, so it did go up and it hit resistance 3, which is a Fibonacci target. Now it may push past that, or it might bounce off of that. Since it reached its target, it just depends. If the CAD remains very weak and the US dollar remains very strong, then this move to the upside could just continue, and it can even continue for several hours. But you were given the main sentiment way back here. This was 1 hour ago. You were given the buy signal, and when the RSI crossed above the 50% RSI level, then that was your buy signal, because the market actually already knows ahead of time what the sentiment is. And so the indicators do understand momentum and volatility and trend. That's what these indicators all give you. So the buy signals or the sell signals are very accurate. So even though we had indecision on this candle, now it's pushing past resistance 3. We don't have any other targets, unfortunately. Well, yes, we do. We have this one Fibonacci target up here at 161.8%. It's hitting 100% for this other Fibonacci extension target. So the next target would be all the way up here, which is more than 100 pips. And it's very possible that it can get up there, but it's already in overbought territory in a 15-minute chart. But let's switch to a 30-minute chart and see where we are as far as being in overbought territory. It's already reached some of these extension targets in a 30-minute chart. If we go up to a 1-hour chart, it's pushing past. There's the Fibonacci extension for more than 100 pips away. And here's H4. We're still in overbought territory, still at resistance 3 in a 4-hour chart. So I would say that this next target would be up here, but that's more of a swing trade, more than 100 pips away. But you could definitely enter into a swing buy trade at this point, since you know what the sentiment is for the CAD and for the US dollar, and it can stay like this for several hours. So that just shows you the importance of using the Forex Factory calendar alert, and how you use the currency strength meter, and how you use your Fibonacci overbought and oversold zones, and the Fibonacci support and resistance lines for your target. So you have entry, you know you're in overbought territory, but the currency strength and weakness is telling you it's still okay even though you're in the overbought territory. The trend is to the upside, and we had the red news alert, which, let's see, on this candle so far we've got 45 pips on this candle for this news alert. So if you had entered and set your target for resistance 3, you could have easily made more than 50 pips if you had entered back here where the arrow was, and the resistance 3 is up here. That's 100 pips for a target. So that was a long time ago. That's on a 4-hour chart, but it just shows you how many hours ago that the sentiment was already to the upside. So if you're trading in any of those time frames, it doesn't matter, because you're going to get your entry alerts, and you're going to be able to see what your currency strength meter tells you, and you're going to have your Fibonacci targets. So that just shows you the pro and the basic template. Let's go look at the pound yen in a 30-minute chart, because we saw that the pound and the yen were doing something. Now they're doing nothing. So we're at the bottom of an oversold zone and in a 15-minute chart, but the pound and the yen are both orange, so that means there's no momentum. So this is not a tradable pair at this time. However, if you had gotten in at the bottom of the oversold zone when the arrow and the hot dot appeared and the RSI crossed 50, which would have been right here, then you would have already been up. Say you got in when the arrow appeared, that's 34 pips. Right now we're sitting at 23 pips. The pivot level would be our first target. That's 48 pips. So it's possible that if you had gotten in at the beginning of the arrow when it popped up, and your target was a swing, either the swing Fibonacci or the Fibonacci pivot level, either way, you would have had an easy 50 pips. And right now the pound and the yen, well, the pound keeps trying to strengthen, so it could go up. If the pound strengthens and the yen weakens, then we're going to see this start rising again, but right now it's sort of flat. In a pound yen 5-minute chart, you can see in a 5-minute chart we have the green hot dot. RSI is approaching 50% level line. So the pound yen is trying to push up, and that's because the pound is stronger than the yen, but only slightly at this point. So there's not a lot of momentum. And if you're brave, you can enter this trade, and then you, in the basic chart, you have these Fibonacci extensions for your targets. So the first target would be the swing, and then you have these other Fibonacci extensions, and this is for a 5-minute chart, so this is for scalping. But even in a basic template, you have your Fibonacci extensions for targets. You still get the arrow alert and the hot dot alert for entry, and the hot dot alert will also tell you when to exit. So the basic chart is fine, it just doesn't give you all the information that you could have at your fingertips like in the pro chart. So here's the pro chart, gives you a lot more information. You know you're in oversold zone, but if it breaks out of the oversold zone, you have all of these targets here to aim for. So that's it for the comparison between the basic currency strength meter template and the pro currency strength meter template, and I hope that helps you make a decision on which one to purchase. With the pro currency strength meter template, you get everything. You actually get everything that you need to trade successfully. This is your momentum window here, and if everything aligns, all the colors agree, and the RSI line crosses above the 50% level, that's your signal to enter. This is your currency momentum. You need to have momentum on your side, and the 50% RSI level is your trigger level, and that would give you the trigger to enter if everything in the top window agrees, all the colors agree, and if the currency strength meter is giving you the right values for a buy. So right now the US dollar is still strong, orange at 6.0, and the CAD is still weak at yellow 3.6. So I would say that in the coming hours, if these values remain the same, we're going to see the USD CAD continue to push to the upside. Although this was a nice little news event, and you could have gotten in just a few minutes before the news event started, and you could have ridden it 50 pips pretty easily, pretty risk-free. And using the trade button in a scalp or day trade set file, if you click buy, it places your stop automatically, and it places your target at a risk to reward ratio of double. And if you wanted to adjust your take profit lines directly on your chart, you would just drag them. You could drag the target up higher to be where the resistance was if it didn't set it for that automatically. So you can adjust your stop and take profit lines directly on your chart after your trade is placed. So thank you so much for watching and for giving me your time, and I hope you understand now the differences between the basic and the pro currency strength meter template. And obviously the pro template gives you so much more for your money. It is actually your best deal because it's reduced in price if you were to buy lots of these things separately, which they are available separately, but it doesn't make any sense because this is the best deal for you. So thank you again, and happy trading.